Resuming debate, the honourable member for Thunder Bay Rainy River.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm pleased to rise today to make a few comments about Bill C-624. You know, everything we do and say in this place is about choices and the kinds of choices that you can make. Well, this bill deals with a group of people who don't have choice. And what we're asking, what the honourable member is asking, is that we help to make good choices on their behalf. And Bill C-624 is a good choice. We don't always make good choices. I'll give you a good example, Mr. Speaker. I was hoping to rise earlier today to talk about First Nations police forces and funding and the fact that this government's cutting 19% from First Nations police forces when they're already sorely underfunded. And I was wondering how they can increase funding for other public safety concerns, but decrease funding for First Nations police forces. And I'm reminded of a conversation I had with Chief Chum, the Anishinaabe Police Chief, and Stan Beardy, who's the Grand Chief of the Anishinaabe Nation, and the concerns that they have for the safety of the people that they police. And I guess it's that kind of choice, Mr. Speaker, that we're faced with here today. Let me say from the beginning that this bill is most welcome. And I will say that I believe that disabled workers deserve to be at the front of the line. If a company goes under, I believe that they deserve to be ahead of pensioners. I believe that they certainly deserve to be ahead of banks and other secured creditors. It's only fair. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the work of Diane and Hugh Urquhart, who have done tremendous work on this issue in the Nortel case and in lobbying parliamentarians to reform our bankruptcy laws to make them more just. And I think the honourable member spoke about justice and fairness, and that's exactly what this is. And Hugh and Diane should be commended for their tireless effort on this front. I guess the reason I say, Mr. Speaker, that they deserve to be at the very front of the line when a company goes bankrupt is that disabled workers are more vulnerable than others, of any other group. They are fewer in number. They have more limited options, sometimes no options at all, for finding work or gaining access to medical benefits after the bankruptcy. In the case of Nortel, if you look worldwide, and tens of thousands of Nortel workers, I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but when we talk about the disabled workers in the Nortel case, we're talking about 400 workers, I think that's the number, somewhere around there. It's not a large number when you consider the whole workforce. And if you want to extrapolate that, if you look at other companies entering bankruptcy and employees they may have on long-term disability, I'm sure that you'll see that we're not talking about a lot of workers here. We're not talking about a lot of people who, through no fault of their own, have found themselves in a situation where they are on long-term disability. But once they're off, as happens now, once they are no longer on long-term disability, medicines and medical care can cost thousands of dollars per month, and in some cases much more than that. With cutbacks to the amount of medical coverage being made by provinces, the expense of obtaining certain care will fall on the person who has a long-term disability. And how can someone who is so severely disabled and they cannot work or afford the $2,000 or $3,000 a month or more for their monthly medical care? Well, the answer, Mr. Speaker, is they can't. And in the case of disabled workers at companies with medical plans, they should not have to. This bill is necessary because it will save and extend lives. For that reason alone, we should move this bill through the system quickly. And it comes at no cost to the federal government. and hence at no cost to taxpayers, and very little expense to corporate bondholders and those with other secured debt claims. You know, the parliamentary secretary talked about companies deciding to head to bankruptcy instead of restructuring, and implying that investors would no longer want to invest in those companies if they had a long-term disability liability in their company. Well, it's completely wrong, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, I think you will see that Canadians and other investors will invest in Canadian companies for the same reasons they always have. They will continue, if this bill passes, they will continue to invest because they have good owners or good management. They have a great product. They have a great future. Those are the reasons why people invest in companies, not because they have a long-term disability plan that they may be liable for as a secured debt should they go bankrupt. And the Parliament Secretary also talked about the WEP program, the Wage Earner Protection Program. And I'd just like to relate a very quick little story about that. He was touting it as the be-all and end-all, something that this government has done. Well, Buchanan Forest Products in my riding has gone bankrupt, and many of those people, for reasons unknown to me, have been coming into my office and saying, yeah, thank you for sending us towards WEP, but for some reason we don't qualify. So the Wage Earner Protection Program does not cover everyone, apparently. And having said those remarks, let me say that working in committee with the Parliamentary Secretary, I was very proud to be with him. He was honest and forthright and a great help to a rookie like myself in that committee. But I think he's misguided in his comments. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that disabled workers must receive their benefits for the rest of their lives when a company enters bankruptcy. And as such, I fully support this bill, and I urge all of my colleagues in this place to do the same. And I'd like to just reiterate one more time the concept of justice and fairness. It may not seem like it, Mr. Speaker, but we've come a long way in this session. When I think of when I first entered this place, and there was no talk about when companies go bankrupt, talking about severance pay or talking about pensions or talking about long-term disability. It's on everybody's radar in this place, and in fact, it's on everybody's radar right across this country. And that's a good thing. Canadians are talking about what happens when companies go bankrupt. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, I would just like to reiterate again how important this bill is, how important it is that we all support this, and important that all of us get together with the opportunity that we have now to make this bill go quickly through its passage. Thank you.